Hi, Barbara.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Excited to be talking to you. Look at that smile, just perfect teeth and just like a fantastic backdrop, well lit. I mean, great sound quality. Just you're checking off all the guest boxes so far.
Oh, good. I'm hoping. I'm on
yeah.
the East Coast visiting family, so I'm like, where can I go that's quiet, that I won't be bothered, and hopefully we have good Wi-Fi. So hoping it's good.
Because you're normally a
Like the
West Coaster.
pandemic. I'm in the closet somewhere.
Yeah,
It's my
you know
bubble.
where I am.
Because you're normally a West Coaster. Where are you on the East Coast right now?
I am. So my family is in Boston, so I'm up in Boston right now.
Oh, lovely. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, well, so you're just a hop, skip, and a jump from Miami. Come on over, say
sure.
hi. Well, all right, so I got lots of questions for you. You have among the many things that make me pretty excited to talk to you is to my knowledge, you are our first Burning Man participant that we've had on Break the Business. That inspires lots of questions in me. I've heard all kinds of wild things going on at Burning Man. Can you tell us your craziest Burning Man story from having played it?
Ooh, I think there's always an issue with generators. Like, it's very hot out there. I think it was 120 during the day last year. So we're sort of all vampires that
So you were burning.
So we were burning. We were literally
Right.
burning. It's
Not
been
just
a
clever
magical experience every year I've gone. I've gone for about 5 years now. And so I remember just playing a party at some camp back in 2018 or 2019. Everyone's loving the groove. The music is great. And all of a sudden the power cuts out because the temperature is insane. And the party was so good that people stayed around to wait for the generator to get back up and the music to keep going. So that is a really good sign if people stick around when the power cuts out.
Because this is a DJing gig, right? So there is no acoustic option for you.
No, unless we all want to, hold hands and sing and just bang on things to make drum
Everybody's
beats.
like, yeah.
Which would be kind of on brand for Burning Man, by the way. Like,
Yep,
I'm sure there was some encampment going on somewhere where people were just holding hands and chanting and banging drums. So.
for sure. It's choose your own adventure,
Now, Barbara, I've been told that you have a pretty interesting story of how you got your first DJ gig. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
So I feel like this is a great example when sometimes life opens a window and you should just jump through it. The universe will give you signs if you're listening. I was just getting some DJ equipment. I was just getting started. I had not had anything set up in my house, which is why I was going to the post office. They needed a signature for like my mixer, my very first mixer with my gear. And the manager of a very popular bar in Williamsburg, Black Flamingo, happened to be outside. He was just like getting ready to open for the day. He saw me carrying this mixer, assumed that I knew what I was doing. And he was like, "You DJ?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Vinyl?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay, here's my obviously." Well, that's what I had set up in my house. So I had 2 turntables that my cousin gave me. So I learned vinyl to start, but it wasn't until I got the first gig that I actually started learning how to beat match and building my collection. And it took me probably 2 or 3 months to get the confidence to email him and be like, "I'm ready. Can I come in?" And I did. I played open to close. People loved it. And then they kept inviting me back.
Yay.
But you couldn't have said, "Oh, I'm ready now." You must have been like, "Look, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you right away. I've been touring the world DJing. I'm in super high demand right now."
So in demand, but I made time for you.
Yeah. I was with Avicii and just
Exactly.
but I didn't forget about you. But now that things have calmed down a little bit, I'm in between engagements. Let's stop by and play your little gig. Yeah, play your bar.
Yeah, just play it cool. Fake it till you make it.
But like that is I've heard so many stories from musicians that are in that vein of faking it until you make it. And putting yourself in the position to, that when that opportunity comes by, to just jump on it. There was Amy Poehler who once said, "Great people do things before they're ready." You could have just as easily said, "Look, I'm just getting this thing for the first time. I haven't learned how to do this yet." But you saw the opportunity, you took it, and you said yes, and then figured out how to get to yes by the time the moment came. And I think that's what high achievers do. That's what great people do. is, you say yes to the opportunity, then figure out how to do it later because you don't want to miss the opportunity. When I teach students, one of the pieces of advice I give them is I say, if you wait until you are 80% ready to take advantage of an opportunity, you will lose that opportunity to somebody who is, sorry, I messed it up.
Aww.
If you wait until you're 100% ready to take advantage of an opportunity, you will lose that opportunity to somebody who is 80% ready and is willing to learn the rest on the job.
Yeah.
In your case, though, Barbara, you were like 15% ready. But you were like, I'm going to learn this. I'll get to the other 85%. I'm not going to miss out on that opportunity. And that's great.
And turned a one-off into a reoccurring gig, which
Yes.
that says a lot too.
It does. Well, I feel like also sometimes other people see things in you that don't see in yourself yet. And I felt like that moment he asked me if I wanted to, he knew, like we knew that I was a DJ. It just like hadn't happened yet, like there was a mutual, oh, she gets it,
She's one of us. Or it's an energy thing, like especially with DJing, right? Like a lot of people can push play on music. You can make AI mix a bunch of things together for you. But the person that you have DJing for your event brings an energy to the room. You're making eye contact with people. You're engaging. And so if you can engage with somebody in a parking lot to a point that they go, I like your energy. I want it in my bar. Like the mixology part of it, like you can navigate that part. If you have at least basic skills so that you know what you're doing, you can build on that. But you can't invent out of nowhere that energy and that charisma that brings people in. And I think that says a lot about you when it comes to a one-off turns into a reoccurring gig. And I come back to the same venues again and again, and people come back to listen to it. Like that's a magic. And that's wonderful. I mean, even you came on here and the moment you were here, you were smiling, you were bubbly. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Yay. And so that's awesome.
Those are the best interviews, by the way. Like Lauren and I, we've done this enough that we know within the first 0.8 of a second whether we're going to have ourselves an interview. Just looking at the guest's face, we know whether we're going to vibe with this person or if this interview is going to be a slog. And we knew right away, oh, Barbara's ready to go. This is going to be a blast.
She's going to mix it up for us. We got that.
And yeah, exactly. And so far it has been a blast, notwithstanding the fact that I totally effed up my 80%, 100% story. And it's going to bother me until all the way till next week's show. And the intro.
Overlord.
It's because we're doing this on a Thursday. Everything's screwed up.
And it's full moon energy this whole week.
Oh,
like
it's giving full moon
energy. It was like the first, right?
It is. Yeah, it was.
I was driving to the airport at like 2:00 in the morning and I was like, look at the moon.
So taking advantage of opportunities like that, just, saying yes and figuring out how to do it later. Is that to you like your number one factor for success? Is there some other kind of mantra that drives you?
I would say that for sure. I think there is no substitute for hard work as well. I think, what did they say? And I'll probably butcher it too, but something about luck and chance, the element of hard work, like those things, the magic all comes together when you're putting in the time and the dedication. I've realized like you really have to be obsessed with your craft as a musician. Like I am constantly listening to different artists throughout the day, like constantly networking, thinking about artwork for things, jotting down ideas for songs. And I think obsession can sometimes not be healthy, but it is a part of a recipe for success. The mixture of like always be creating, be obsessed with what you love and putting yourself out there, even if you don't feel like you're ready for things, to your point, like just saying yes and figure it out.
Now, you spoke about networking. Do you have any particular advice on how to get better at networking? I know this is something that a lot of viewers and listeners want to get better at. Me personally, I'm atrocious at it, which is why I created a whole radio show just so I could have guests come to me and I could network without having to actually go to cocktail parties and stuff. It's worked out pretty well, but not everybody can have a podcast. So, what advice do you have just for people who are like, man, I want to get better at networking and making those connections, but it's hard for me. It doesn't come naturally. What would you say to them?
I think it happens with a lot of people. Even when I started out, I struggled with it because you feel like you're selling yourself. But I think actually when you look at it, like what is something of value? How can I be helpful in this mutual exchange? So I look at it like a lot of producers don't write and they can't do vocals on their own. And I love their work. And sometimes I can't bring the musical elements, or I can't make the drum beats the way that they do in the grooves. So there's something of me being like, hey, love your music. You know, if you're ever looking for a vocalist, so there I'm adding my vocals and I'm getting to benefit from the amazing music that I love that they do and I'd want to work together. So it's all about thinking, what are your unique skills that you can bring to the table? And it feels less salesy when you're approaching it of like, what is something of value that I can bring, that I know that I can bring value to? And then I feel like the right partnerships just happen. Like you shouldn't have to network too hard or sell yourself too hard. When the right person, when it's reciprocated, they feel your energy and there's like a wholesome mutual exchange of value, then great. Perfect partnership.
Our guest is Bay Area DJ and musician Barbara. You can check out her latest single, Sneaking Around, on all major streaming platforms, and check her out on Instagram at Barb's Music. I do want to get to the final question that we ask all the guests, but I would be committing interviewer malpractice if I did not ask the question that I see here in my show sheet. Because I'll tell you what I see in my notes. I'm looking right at it. It says in giant block letters, Barbara, ask Barbara about the time that she stole a kitten. And I can't look at that and not let that question get through. Like,
wow.
How did you steal a kitten?
How did that one get in?
I mean, we do our due diligence around here. So like this catnapping that you engaged in, like, do you still have this cat? Like, did you go to jail for this? Like, we need backstory. How did you steal a kitten?
I was so little. Yeah, I do catnapping as my side gig, like add it to my resume.
Like it's a value add if you're looking for a cat.
Bay Area DJ, musician, and convicted felon Barbara joining us here on Break the Business.
It's a misdemeanor. They're not that valuable.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So the story is like, I'm obsessed with animals. Like I ended up getting a dog because I would literally go into my neighbors' houses like unannounced and just be playing with their pets. And it got to be a problem. So my family realized, okay, let's just get her a dog and she'll be happy. So around that time where I was going into my neighbors' homes unannounced, petting their animals, neighbors down the street from us who knew me because they had chickens and turkeys and everything. I was always at their house. They had a litter of kittens that they were giving away for free. And I knew that my grandparents and my parents, we all lived in the same house. They were never going to say yes to a cat because I'm allergic. But I still
allergic.
Like highly allergic.
Of
but
course.
That didn't stop me. I wanted one anyways. And so I went over and there were so many people looking at the kittens. You know, I just kind of like took one with me in my arms. I went home and I remember my grandmother coming home with my great grandmother. Our family's super close. And they saw me having like a little tea party and one of the toys was moving. Like it clearly wasn't a toy. It was a cat. It was
in a bonnet.
Like, what is this?
Yes.
She's trying to hide the cat like under a bonnet and she's sneezing the whole time, breaking out in hives. I don't know where the cat went.
Exactly. So it was time to give the kitten back, but then I did get my dog after that. So I got a hypoallergenic dog. And so I just feel like I kind of won anyways.
The moral of the story is if you do things crazy enough, your parents will go down to like the sane level and it'll still be more than you were going to get, right?
Bingo. Do things and ask forgiveness after.
That's right. You know, whether it is stealing somebody's pets or telling a bar owner that you are a really great DJ when you just bought your mixer.
Yep. That's the theme.
Barbara's showing her secret to success here. This
just
is
go for it. Yeah.
And look, you're playing all these venues. You got your amazing single Sneaking Around, which I very much enjoyed listening to.
Thank you.
And we're really enjoying this conversation. Before we let you go, Barbara, we got one last question for you. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Oh, yes, for sure. don't listen to anyone. You know your sound. There's music is so subjective. You're going to get a lot of no's, and just keep going. If you feel it and you're creating something that sounds different anyways, people probably aren't going to like it because people are used to what sounds the same. So just keep going. Whatever is your sound, keep owning it. Don't pay attention to anyone. Create your own lane and do what you love.
Love it. You can check her out at Barb's Music on Instagram. Barbara, this has been a treat. Please don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on again real soon.
Thank you so much for having me.